Welcome back to Hoeffelhohman FC. This is part 4 of Bring the Noise. Today, I am welcome back with my co-host, Nick Hohman. Welcome.
I am back. I am here at the microphone with headphones again.
Nice. Third week in a row. We got some real momentum. Today, we're going to go through Chapter 8. Next week, probably, maybe a long one, 9 and 10. We shall see. Also, if it all works out and we get to do a 4th week in a row, life happens, so we'll just keep trucking along with the momentum we have. But before we get into that, I had a question for you because you sent me a text about, man, I wish I would have filmed this game I just played in. So I wanted to hear you elaborate on why it should have been filmed.
Because I played really well.
Okay.
That's really the only reason.
I wasn't sure if it was like magical all around or if it was an individual performance.
It was just like everybody was feeling good. We had like 4 to 5 subs to like rotate in, but it was an indoor game in my Harrisburg league at Yellow Breeches, and I don't know. Like that day entirely was just like, I don't know. It just brings up that mysterious equation again of like how you're like how sometimes like if you're feeling too good and you go play a game, you might not do as well as if you're feeling bad and go into a game and do well.
Were you feeling bad?
Yeah, like the whole day was just kind of like like at work it was and then I coached and I was like I was okay with, I don't know, I was having some doubts about some things and I was just feeling kind of bummed. But then like after I was coaching the training for my younger teams, I had to go drive like 40 minutes to this game in Harrisburg and just, I don't know, I got there, I was just relaxing, I was watching the game before ours a little bit, and then like my teammates started coming in and I was just feeling just like weak, like mentally just not full of, I don't know, just not confident, I guess, in myself. But like as soon as like we like kind of started playing, or I subbed in, I don't know, man. I was just, something just came through and was just like, I was beating all my 1v1s. I scored like 5 goals.
Dang, son.
I was finding my teammates. It felt good. It was just like one of those games where it was just like,
yeah, I definitely would like to have seen that.
I need to go into every game just feeling pitiful.
That's not too sustainable, sadly.
I know. It's just like it's just weird how my body works, man. I just, after all these years and being like 31, it's like,
if you're not feeling well, it's almost like you can eat more easily. Like, this is my escape. So the deeper I delve into the game, like, yeah, I don't know.
Maybe I don't
know if there's anything to that.
It's not. But I don't. It might be that way, but I just don't look at it that way. Because when I'm there, I'm just kind of expecting, like, just to, like, I'm always working hard when it comes to games, but, like, I wasn't going into it thinking, like, oh, I'm gonna, like, do badly or I'm gonna do any of this. I was just there to just play because I signed up to play. You know, it's exercise. I want to be able to see, like, different people that I don't see, like, every day, and just you get... It's like, I don't know. It's very out of the, like, I don't do anything outside of Lancaster mostly, so it's like nice to have that little drive, and then you get there, and then you see people you don't really see that much, and you just play a game, and that's that. And I think it's part of also just getting to know that team better and better. This is like my 3rd or 4th season with them already, which has been great. But yeah, I don't know. It's weird, man. Like I'm just like, my body is just so annoying in that way. Just like I'm feeling like just right before the game, I'm just like, man, I know, like I'm like super aware of how like not confident I feel, but I didn't care about how I felt. I just wanted to play the game, and almost like my body also sort of knew that like it was gonna help playing, and that's why I was just kind of relaxed about going into it.
Were you playing in the midfield or forward?
I would be center mid or on the wings. When I was in the midfield, I never did any 1v1s. So all the 1v1s were out on the wings. I don't know. I was just relaxed. Like, I don't know. There's a whole mentality, man. It's wild. Like,
there's a beautiful balance of not caring.
Yeah.
But like, obviously, you care.
But I didn't. And then it was fine.
Well, in the sense of like, if you fully didn't care to like the negative spectrum of that,
I would have just left.
You would have left, but say you force yourself to play, you're not really caring about your work rate or finding teammates.
Right.
So there's that mix of like, I care about what I'm doing in the sense that like, I am going to try.
Right.
But then if you can also get, I don't care, that there's a balance that frees you to a better level of performance where you can express yourself fully.
Yeah.
Which I found in soccer, but also more specifically in golf or in archery.
Right, yeah.
When I am carrying in my golf swing, it's not going to be pretty.
Right, yeah, you told me that before.
And then I'm able to get into like, this doesn't matter, but I'm still here to do this.
Right.
Can I relax? Can this be something that helps me relax?
Yeah.
Or when I went to the driving range and I just played chill music and just had my earphones on and just was just chill and
just doing it.
And I was just crushing shots and it was straight. And then when I went to a hybrid club that I hadn't used, I'm like, I was also in a chill flow state. I'm like, I'm just going to figure this out because I know I'm not good with this.
Right.
And just, I'm having some bad swings and I'm like, okay, I'm going to try this. Okay, I'm going to try that. Like, there's just zero problem. Every little...
There was no pressure to learn it that day, that time. There was just like, I'm just going to figure it out because it's fun.
But then I did kind of like get a figure... Like, if I went back now, like, I would need to tweak it probably. But like, I got it more like, oh, I'm hitting it nicely now. This is nice. And this is nice.
Yeah.
In the moment, I was able to do that. And now every Saturday mornings, Caitlin and I are doing archery.
Right, yeah.
And I can tell, I always go to her, I'm like, the robot's on now. Because I've like, I have a nice grouping and it's all near the middle.
Nice, yeah.
Because I just have a flow state and I feel relaxed and Is
that the robot state?
Yeah, the robot state's kind of good. Like, I'm not really caring. All I want to do is just go through the progression of, all right, my body's in the right place.
I feel like that's the opposite of a robot.
I know, but I go through the same practice of just everything's out of my brain except body's in the right position. Then my arm comes up. Then I make sure my anchor goes to the tip of my mouth,
like autonomous.
Yeah, I just do that over and over again.
Okay.
But if I get like excited that I did a good shot and then I'm like, all right, let's nail it, and then it doesn't do well.
Right.
But if I just stick to this little routine of this pattern, that's like the little robotic part of my brain. Like, it's so simple and repetitive that I actually find enjoyment and relaxation out of that.
Yeah.
And I just did it a bunch of times where I was getting good at it and getting consistent stuff. But now, as this is our third time, so now some coaches have gotten to have more time with us. Now I'm getting tweaked. So I'm like, I have to find a whole new robotic system now. Because like now I have to do that. And because I was like, as I was getting corrected, all my shots started sucking. I was like, but I found a way to do it. But they're teaching me the proper way. So I'm like, okay, just get corrected and then just go back to, okay, now this is what I'm doing. Boom,
Apply
boom, boom,
new
release.
things.
Boom, 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 release. And because it's so simple, I'm not thinking about anything else in the world. And I think that's why I find it relaxing. And I'm able to get into that. And it's zen. I just call it robotic because I've always felt I'm kind of a robotic person at times. And that was my nickname was the drone when I worked at the pizza shop.
The drone.
The one pizza guy gave me that nickname because I just
That's funny.
and I'm just doing the same things, but it's the things I'm supposed to do.
Right.
You know, it's not.
I'm
like
surprised I don't have the nickname too.
Yeah, it was just because of who was working with me, and it was either the drone or Natron because it had, and then it became the running joke even after that guy moved on from the shop of just. If Angelo changed something in the menu or a price or a rule, I'm just like, all right, I got to update my programming.
You bought into that.
Yeah. So it's like once I get it down, okay, man, I will never ring it up this way again. Once the full update goes, like I'll never do it again. But I like that in myself in terms of like for productivity because it's just that's what.
Well, it feels like you're very in control of it.
Yeah, but cool. Where I work, that's why people were able to trust me at a point where I'm like, you want it done this way? I will never do it another way.
Right, yeah.
And that's simple in my brain. Which is
reliability.
It's a little bit of reliability, but I think because I find it easy to like follow the order is why I'm kind of robotic and can kind of be like that just in some social situations. But I digress on being a robot. Because I do feel like the zen of it too. So it isn't. I'm not like just cold while I'm doing.
Well, no, your brain just doesn't want to worry about anything it doesn't have to.
Yeah. I don't feel like a robot when I'm being over analytical and overthinking. It's just that I don't like that. So anything that stops that, I do enjoy. Same with playing soccer. It's a place of usually joy and peace most of the time.
Yeah, as soon as you're losing horribly, then it just turns into something else.
I think you might have missed the one game where we lost on the last play of the game. And
for our LCBC team?
Yeah. I got cut in on and scored on at the last play. I think we were tied. I can't remember if you were there.
When you were a goalkeeper?
No. I wouldn't have cared as much. I was on the field.
Was it the first half of that game?
No, it was the second. I mean, like, we lost because of this. The game was over.
So, yeah, maybe I wasn't.
I don't think you were there. But I had played really good pretty good defense most of the time. But a lot of our teammates were getting, like, angry at the other team. But it was just, like, I was just joking around with them and talking. And this stuff wasn't really bothering me. I didn't think it was that. It wasn't that bad. I don't know why people were mad. Yeah. But... You know, it's a tight game that I felt that we could win. And then I had played most of that game. I didn't have too many subs that day. And then just 1 second too late, you could argue that maybe I should have had help on this one at the end of the game. But he cut on me. He had half a yard. He took his shot. And it went near post and went in. And we lost. And I just put it on me in my brain because I was the one that was there. But yeah. I met him out on the wing, and then I felt, at least I hope somebody would have came to double with me.
Like slide over a little bit.
Because like he came in from the wing, but then went back out to the top of the box when he cut in, and I'm like, nobody shifted over. But for me as a defender, I'm like, I don't want to need help. I'll take the help, but like in my head, I'm like, I should have stopped him, and then that's the other things that gets me going like, if I was just training, if I was just running and I haven't been running, and working outside, oh my god! But like they were the guys that were doing most of their work, they were younger and they were having fun, and like he celebrated hard on the goal, and then they made some of our other teammates like kind of angry, and I'm just like, I still beat myself up about it, but it was still just like I was able to not be angry, and that was nice.
Yeah,
I'm glad I got that out of my game. And I walked by that kid who scored the winning goal, and the one guy on their other team, was like coaching, like was like kind of being critical of him. I could hear like some encouragement in the voice. It's like, just like you just gotta calm down and do this and do that. I'm like, maybe he needed that, but like, dude, he just won the game. Like, just let him go right now, dude. Let him
tell him later.
Tell him later. He just won the winning shot, and you're bringing up all the little things that he may have messed up during the game. I'm like, what the heck? It's LCBC. He was so excited to win, and you're nitpicking him. I was like, whatever. But that was a moment like normally I feel like I would have gotten carried away with the anger of the team, but I was able to just stay calm, and so soccer's able to do that more even if it's adversity. So
yeah,
it's an enjoyment.
With golf or archery, there's no like
you're only fighting yourself in those ones.
Yeah, but there's also no like opposition, like human anyway. Just for you to like be like, oh well, like I could have beat him if like I was, or whatever. Just like looking inwards and be like, I don't know. That is one of the nice things about probably golf and definitely archery. Like archery is sometimes more of like if you're doing it recreationally or like with like what is it, a recurve bow? That's like the standard.
Well, that's the one you have, I believe, right?
Yeah. That's like pretty traditional, but like the zen thing about it is like when you're able to just know the technique and just simply do it, and then just kind of it's more like you're releasing the arrow and being like releasing and guiding the arrow towards the target, and less of it like shooting like a bullet.
Yeah.
Because the bow and the arrow is just so much physics, which is kind of why it has its beauty. But like you're releasing that arrow and just kind of guiding it, like you're not super still. You don't have to be super still when you shoot a bow. You just need to know that your release is directional, and that you're like releasing it from like the tip of your ear almost. And if you were to like do anything else, like trying to like shoot this arrow out of this bow, like it just messes up the trajectory so much. So all you have to do is let the physics do the work, and it's just so zen because you're just it's almost like you're letting nature do what it's supposed to do with this with this bow, which was a cool thing to figure out when I first started shooting. Was just like, this is, I have so much more respect for fucking Legolas when he's taking down all these orcs and elephants and stuff in the movies. Just like he's able to just, it's like breathing for him, and like I'm here just like pulling like 30 pounds backwards.
An unlimited amount of time to master something, though.
Like, yeah, that's fair.
Like a human's amount of time to master.
He's an elf who lives longer.
You can live 20 men's lifetimes of shooting arrows. I imagine it becomes like breathing at that point. It's just like, and you have the vision of an eagle.
Yeah, that does help.
I see that guy 100 yards away, like he's 10 feet away. So like, that's a chip shot. I can see you.
Yeah, but I just like when you see these kind of fictional characters do this thing that you're learning about. Oh yeah, it's just like it can be like just kind of like that fluid if you're really comfortable with it, because you know the technique and you know how to trust the physics behind the whole thing.
And that's like watching the pros like in the middle of a high intense game and you hit a perfect like diagonal across the pitch. And then a guy brings it down like elegantly.
Well, you know that it's good right from the. Wait, what are you talking about? The finish, you mean?
No. Just a diagonal ball across the pitch, like a switch.
Oh, okay.
Like you just pin it from that far away.
Yeah.
But it was natural. Like one glance up.
They're just able to do it.
And then just boom, and it just floats across the whole field. And then a guy brings it down like one touch, like it was just like caressed.
Like he was right next to him.
Right, like he was right next to him. But just like that little glance up and the pinpoint accuracy of it.
Yeah.
As it kind of reminds me of how you're saying like Legolas, like a quick glance up is a guy 100 yards away, and then boom, I hit him. It was easy to me because of how much work I put in.
Yeah,
and to the point where it's like breathing.
Yeah, that's why I like to train a little bit before game days, like the previous day, just so that my muscle memory is just like a little bit sharper.
Right.
And the next day, it already feels like I've done those motions during the game, so I feel more comfortable just being able to just release those movements. More like, but yeah.
One more thing to cover before we dive in. We were both wrong on our predictions of the Copa final. You picked the right winner, though.
Yeah.
But it was 1-0.
I said 2-1, I think.
Yeah, 2-1. Yeah. You said 2-1. I said 1-0 Colombia with a James goal. which I thought was there. Oh no, a James assist was my.
Oh yeah, you went with the assist.
He had plenty of corners, and Colombia was playing incredibly well in the beginning of the game. Argentina took control every now and again, but then Messi gets forced off with like a 3 times the size swollen ankle.
Yeah, it was swollen.
And then it was actually a decent match, I felt, for some of the other Copa games, in terms of like they were trying to actually play and not play this foul flop game.
Oh, you mean like the final specifically?
Yeah, the final specifically. And when it went to OT, it divulged into chaos, and I was very disappointed in that, because the announcer was like, "Oh, these guys, they're just so tired." I'm like, how many overtime games did we watch in the Euros, and the shape didn't collapse?
There was no fighting.
Was still discipline. Well, it didn't turn into the flop and fall. It turned into, like, if you ever watch like Mexican soccer, there's the midfield strikers and defenders are all so far away from each other, and it is exciting. I'm not going to say that, because it's literally back and forth, counter to counter to counter, because nobody's is all disjointed. So just like 5-on-4, we didn't get it, 5-on-4 the next way, 5-on-4, 5-on-4, 5-on-4. Nobody's in the shape anymore, and I'm like, but I'm watching. I'm like. And I knew Colombia was going to lose. I'm like, because Argentina has the more talent. You're rolling the dice against better players in having mismatches all day. They subbed in the Lautaro Martinez fresh.
Yeah.
And he gets the winner.
And he does get the winner.
He gets the winner, because just like he doesn't, there's no defense to break down anymore. It's just free-flowing, counter-attacking, no resistance. And I'm thinking what got Colombia there was their being together and their press.
What you saw initially.
And I thought when they subbed off James, he didn't play a minute of overtime. And I was like, okay, they're trying to get the fresh legs on, because they're going to keep doing the important things that got them here. Well, if you're going to do that, keep on James,
but they didn't,
and tell him to stay up. If we're going to play cherry picking, have the talent on. He doesn't have to run back. Tell him not to run back. I didn't like that at all. It made me upset.
I didn't even watch it. It was. Yeah, I think it was pushed back because it started at 9.
Oh yeah, there was like a horde of Colombian fans without tickets, like trying to get into the stadium.
Wow.
It's just been the whole tournament's been a mess in like management.
Yeah.
Where do these people come from? And we're gonna start an hour later or whatever. It was crazy. People are like climbing. I think they let them in, but then I don't like what happened to people who had tickets.
We paid for this. They didn't.
I don't know. But, they defend the Copa, so they got double Copa World Cup.
Oh, yeah.
Like Spain had double Euro World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
But then they were comparing the two. But, like, winning the Euro is harder. Sorry.
Yeah.
So it's like Spain will have the edge there.
Yeah.
But, does it help Messi cement that he's the best of all time? Sure. You keep racking up trophies outside of club, you're going to... I mean, he didn't need to win. He could have lost. They could have lost that. The second Messi won the World Cup... Getting to a final,
yeah.
The second he won the World Cup, he cemented GOAT for me over Ronaldo, in my humble opinion. But that's a whole topic for another day. If we want to get into Messi or Ronaldo.
Yeah. Let's, we could get into the book now.
Yeah. It's time... for Liverpool
to pump up the volume.
Chapter 8, pump up the volume. And now this is in my wheelhouse because I lived through these in terms of being a fan of Liverpool. I was a fan from the season before they sold Fernando Torres. I believe Kenny Dalglish was the coach at the time. But I'm an ignorant fan learning about the game. Yeah, I have played... in my high school years, but it was rec, and I didn't know how the game worked because we didn't get taught anything. So my knowledge of the game, my knowledge of how professional is played is very limited. But now I'm like, I'm picking this team, and now I'm going to start watching them. And then you learn that they used to be a historic club and all this, and they haven't won in a while. And like, wow, Fernando Torres is amazing. Oh, he's gone. All right. But at least I could watch Gerrard every week, and then eventually Suarez was very entertaining.
Yeah.
The whole we almost won the title, but Gerrard slipped. But Gerrard did enough that he will always be loved, no matter what.
Yeah, Liverpool legend.
But I digress on that. But just trying to say, I love Liverpool. So
Liverpool 2015 to 16.
I might get a little excited at the climax.
I'm excited
of the
to watch this for you, honestly. You and Kyle being able to talk about this important time is fun for me.
Right. But now, Klopp is coaching Liverpool, so the book does jump around between him coaching Dortmund, Liverpool, playing for Mainz, coaching Mainz, so it doesn't go in chronological order. You'd never know from the lazy afternoon vibes, the silence of the deserted training pitch, and the laughter of Jordan Henderson on the next table that Liverpool are due to play Southampton in a must-win game in 3 days. The pressure is on to come forth. Adam Lallana, smiling and squinting in the sunlight like a tourist on the first day of his holiday, couldn't look much more relaxed if he were sipping a pink cocktail with the paper umbrella instead of a bottled mineral water. The conversation is all about how hard it is to play Klopp's brand of football. But the England midfielder is doing a good job of conveying his and his team's suffering. There's a simple reason for that. He finds the pain pleasurable. Now, that was something that I did not know how to do, which we did talk about a bit of how my senior year I tried to make the varsity team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we touched on that.
Wasn't fully in love with the game at the time. Didn't really fully have belief in myself, but wasn't able to enjoy suffering, enjoy pain, which is something I have in my repertoire to do now. I'm not saying I'm like a David Goggins or anything, even though I did read the guy's book, but I'm not anything like him. I don't want to pretend at all I'm even at that guy's level. But that mentality is something that I do now find an important avenue to try to lock into when you're playing. Mm-hmm. So now I can actually understand what they're saying. Before, when people would say that, like, I love running, I love lifting weights, and whenever I do that, I'm like, this is just pain and struggle and suffering. I don't like it. It's uncomfortable. I don't like it.
I don't want to be a Sith.
I don't want to be a Sith. But, the Reds, they're all Siths. He talked to the dark side. He talked a lot about the team trusting itself, about belief, and not fearing any other team, Lallana says. He definitely had the confidence himself, that aura and belief that he is a top manager. He walked through the door and you could feel it. And I think that automatically filters through to his players. I mean, it's a different Klopp walking through the door than the guy who took over Mainz. It's a different Klopp walking through the door that took over Dortmund, because as we'll get into the Dortmund years, like, he had a lot of success there. Mm-hmm. So he's now successfully built twice now. Yeah. And I'm sure now he even has new ideas where he's like, oh, it's going to be good this time.
Yeah. Yeah, each time he's coached a team, like, he's only just been learning how to do it better. It's just like, especially with how, I don't know, he does a good job. And even with, like, minor mistakes each time, it's just like, it doesn't bother him enough to be like, oh, like, I'm gonna stay here, like, I'll only take offers in the Bundesliga or wherever. Just he kept going for, like, even in this book he mentions a few times, just like, I can't believe I'm at Liverpool. I would have thought it. And I'm just like, that's so hard to believe. He
probably did think that too, though.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. But it's like, with like, twice he's like built, like, over almost 7 years with Mainz and 7 years with Dortmund. I mean, like, at that point, where else are you gonna go? Mm-hmm. Anyway,
speaking of making small mistakes, that's how he feels about his players. That he can handle them. He can handle mistakes. He can handle bad games. Work hard for me and give me everything. He's convinced that technical ability and quality will come out as a result. And this is also from Lallana, talking about Klopp, that And I believe this is the correct way of coaching players, of being able to handle their little mistakes. And I feel like I tried to always tell that to the Cosmos. I'm like, you guys are going to make mistakes, and you got to be able to live with them, because I can. Because it's easy to have them, to carry them with you throughout the game, and they weigh you down.
Especially as a teenager,
Right. But it's like, just give me everything. That's all I want from you.
Yeah. Klopp would definitely he's definitely like this kind of coach. Just to go back to that previous page on 100, I just had to underline a few things.
Sure.
And that connect with this. It says motion and motivation have the same Latin root.
Yeah, it's a good one.
And I never think that far into at least when I first read this book 4 or 5 years ago. I'm not thinking about where words are coming from. I'm not thinking about their roots. And then when I read that sentence, I'm like, oh my God, motion and motivation, that makes so much sense. You have to have motivation to make actions, to move, to do something. And that was just such a and then after learning German in Germany, I'm like language matches up for a reason. Words come from these kind of roots for a reason, because there's so much words are so connected to human behavior, and this is such a good example, especially when it's we're talking about Klopp as a coach. If or just as coaches in general, if you don't see your players moving, all of a sudden you have to recognize oh, my players don't have any motivation. What's up? I gotta go figure out what's going on. Just what's up with the motivation, because you're not running as hard as you can. I can see this. What's up? And just to go another sentence down from that, he also mentioned that Klopp's very first message to Liverpool supporters, that they had to turn from doubters into believers. And that was just that was such a cool thing to read.
And as I was saying, there hadn't been silverware at Liverpool for a long time. They were a slip away from a Premier League title. So then, and then afterwards, Gerrard retires and Suarez moves on to Barcelona, and you're just well, okay, I guess we're done.
What do we believe in?
We're done for a while. Rodgers was getting the best out of a not probably top quality compared to who they were trying to beat, which was City at the time. It was Daniel Sturridge was world class that year, which is not something he had been.
Yeah.
Obviously, Suarez had a lot to do with opening up space for people, and Sterling's just on the scene. Coutinho's coming into his own at the time, playing his best. And we're playing just kind of a three at the back. Gerrard's a holding midfielder. It's just everything's a little bit different, but it was working.
Not what it should be.
It was working, and Suarez was banned and still coming in 10 games banned or however many it was, and still leading Premier League in scoring. He couldn't have been playing any better. So everything, we're the pieces are together, and it still didn't work, and now they're gone. It's never happening. It's doubting. It's doubting time.
Yeah.
But, we know how Klopp works now, and I didn't know how Klopp worked at the time, nor was I very competent on many things while I was a Liverpool supporter at the time. 2 months into the 2015-16 season, there was no time to practice the new pressing style on the pitch, nor did the fixture list allow for additional fitness exercises. Klopp's notorious double training sessions, criticized as excessive and counterproductive by some pundits and experts, as the odd muscle injury beset the team after Christmas, never took place. So he's trying to build, but he doesn't have all his tools that he does to build to get his way of playing across. The ad hoc introduction of pressing and gegenpressing necessitated a firm collective commitment. It's an agreement a team makes with itself, says coach's assistant and chief scout Peter Krawitz. A social contract. Yes, we want to do that together. One guy doing it by himself is nothing. He'll try once again, he'll try again, but then he'll turn around and say, where is everybody else? Come on, I'm running my socks off and you're sitting back and enjoying the spectacle. That's why you need an agreement that's binding for everybody. But how do you get to that if you don't have all the practices to do it? It goes back to how Lallana was saying belief, but also Klopp's coming in with a different kind of aura and stature that he's probably even unaware of himself, that the players are sensing the confidence based on the success that he has. We're willing to buy in probably a little easier than maybe him just coming on the scene at Mainz and being like, or the first time he's at Dortmund where there's problems, like not biggest problems, but we got to move players around. We're not really ready to do the full out running just yet.
Yeah.
But already he's got players that are ready to suffer, which also helps. This is also Lallana going in on that.
Klopp
has luckily stumbled into a group of players kind of predisposed for a coach like him. You enjoy feeling that pain because everyone else is feeling it. You want to keep going for your mate. He's hurting and you're hurting, but it's all right. That's what the manager likes. That's what he is like. He celebrates tackles like goals sometimes because he knows it hurts. He adds that Klopp's tactics can't really accommodate descendants and egotists who won't submit to the collective dictate. Maybe you can carry one player, but that's not how he wants to play. You can't operate like that. How difficult was it for Klopp and his staff to get his players to think and play this way? Krawitz considers the question for a moment. I believe that the team we encountered has been incredibly ready to take on things, he says. They were ready and willing to try something new. They knew that there was reasons why things hadn't worked out so well before and why we stood there now wearing red and black tracksuits. We felt it from day one. They want to understand what we're trying to get across to them. Complications didn't stem so much from a lack of willingness as they did in the initial language barrier. Tactics brain, Zelko Buvak, was reluctant to speak much English at first. Klopp translated for him. A lot of the time, mainly when he's angry, Klopp says, I fucking wish I could speak German to you. Lallana laughs. His English is tremendous, actually. I understand whatever he needs and wants to say, but it does frustrate him at times. So as I was already saying, there was an open-mindedness already and not stubborn people going like, well, we were playing more possessive and we didn't have to press as much. There was people leading the locker room ready to run, and we definitely know that is the case for Jordan Henderson as well. That was literally that was his strongest point. I don't know if it's in this book, but I just remember that there was a Champions League game against Bayern Munich, and it was one of his best games because he was just everywhere. I don't know what kind of crack Klopp gave him, but it was the most bought into what Klopp would want out of a player. It was like the crux and climax of Henderson's career for me was those games. He was like the shining midfielder in a game against Bayern Munich. So you have midfielders at Liverpool who are good over him, and then also Bayern Munich, but he's the one that stood out and got us over the line then.
The MVP.
So you already got players there that are ready to receive. Helps tremendously. You don't got to really convince them.
Right.
Nevertheless, it took a little while before cultural footballing differences were fully reconciled on the training pitch. The odd misunderstanding was inevitable. Everybody throws in their 20 years of footballing experience. You think you're all talking about the same things, but in the end you realize they're two wholly different things. Pressing and tackling, the way the coaching staff understand it, expressly forbids fouling the opponent. A foul immediately renders your own ball-winning attempts futile. But during the very first tactical exercise, meant to be a light session, The Liverpool players flew into the challenges with abandon, believing that they had to interrupt the opposition build-up by any means necessary. Klopp had to stop them and tell them to slow down. Krawitz remembers the episode with a content smile. It was cool to see the lads were absolutely ready to implement new ideas and immerse themselves in them completely. That made life a lot easier for us. Not as hard of a problem to solve when everybody's going all in, even though it was wrong. You just can correct their all in-ness. Hey, this is what I want you to be all in on. I'm already all in. Yeah, just correct me. Instead of trying to convince somebody to be all in.
Yeah, well, Lana says that the players responded to Klopp's honesty and just kind of, you can't, I don't know, it seemed like they couldn't doubt him or his tactics in any capacity if he was just being honest and truthful with them. And I mean, yeah, it's just, especially when you have players that are already willing to try something to help the team along, like that's just gonna get the ball rolling really well, just like they said. Made it a lot easier for them. But there's always going to be players that the coach can't connect with or do more to get what he needs from them, which I think it does touch on eventually. It talks about Christian Benteke and how like he kind of just wasn't adjusting to it.
Right. So Klopp, as he did right when we read last week about Dortmund, comes in. Well, these players don't fit what I'm trying to do, and they find their way out the door.
Yeah.
The Klopp-Benteke partnership failed to get off the ground. The German had years ago decided for himself that there is no point explaining to players why they aren't being picked, that all he can do is tell them about the areas of their game that they can improve. But Benteke couldn't reconcile the coach's silent stance with his keenness to sign him for Dortmund a couple years earlier. It also mentions that Klopp tried to get Kevin De Bruyne at one point for Dortmund, which
would have been nuts.
Yeah, would have been crazy. But yeah, even maybe he thought Benteke could have been the guy for what he wanted to do, but he happened to find out in this way that it wouldn't have probably worked. Or maybe Benteke's mind was too close to be that guy. But at that point, Benteke was a very proven goal scorer in the Premier League, and it was unfortunate that it didn't work, but it made Klopp made his decisions, and it worked again because the players that he picked over him were Origi and a lesser known name at the time, Firmino. A household name. Origi not as much, but he's a cult legend. Not a guy who's leading the line, but he has his moments for sure for Liverpool that he will always be loved. There's plenty of players like that who don't do as much as the starting 11 every week, but you have your moments where you can make your history.
Yeah, kind of like a wild card. I like Klopp's response on the 105 there. He's responding to a reporter.
Yeah, I have a big section underlined. I'll let you read it, though, but I just labeled it the press, the English press.
Yeah.
So you can go ahead.
The reporter asked Klopp after the final whistle. I think it was after a Merseyside.
Well, read the first. What did he ask him?
Yeah, it says, "Can you win the league?"
Can you win the league?
And Klopp is like, "Are you crazy?" He barked back incredulously. At first, I thought I didn't understand the question. I've been here for 3 weeks. The last time Liverpool won an away game, I was still on holiday. Later, in a separate briefing in the tunnel, he was bombarded with questions about Liverpool's targets in the January transfer window and their chances of qualifying for Champions League. They were 8th at this point. "I can't believe the impatience," he said. "They want to know whether I'll finish 4th. He shouted at a referee, Mark Clattenburg, and he says, "Welcome to England."
Yeah, welcome to England. And I think those were spurned off of they had beat Chelsea 3-1 earlier, who was the defending champions when Mourinho had his second stint with Chelsea, I believe.
Yeah, I think it was the second one.
I know he's been in and out of Chelsea, so
his first one was early. Yeah,
that was when he was first dubbed the special one, and now Klopp is the normal one, and then he beats them, and then it's like, oh, you gonna win the league now? And he's used to his building thing, and I don't think he was asked these questions in Germany, so it's like,
no,
what?
because they weren't beating the reigning champs of the league 3-1.
But we had just got done reading in Dortmund where they didn't even qualify, I think, for Europe. They missed out.
Yeah.
But they knew that Schalke didn't win the league and lost a game, and they're just celebrating from just how they're playing, and it's awesome. And they're like, "Can you win the league now?" Dude, obviously, the players aren't getting caught up in it; they know what the England press is like. But it's still wild that you gotta answer that 3 weeks into your job.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's just I can understand Klopp's frustration, especially if he's the long plan guy. If he's being asked these questions already, I would be. I totally get why he had that reaction. And he didn't understand England yet.
Yeah, but Klopp knows that it's a bigger club, and not only are the press going to ask this, but you're trying to win over a new culture now. So now he's diving into the Liverpool culture, learning about their history, and that there is a weight to wearing this jersey, like there is on many clubs that are historic and have been around for so long, and that have prestigious amounts of silverware, of league titles and European titles. And now you're trying to, we can't carry this weight around. We must not carry 20 kilograms of history on our backs, he warned. Nor should the club bemoan its relative lack of funds. We should not think about money, only football. Amen. Liverpool's situation, he added, was not that bad. It's a good time to make changes, a restart. He promised full throttle football, to cook up an emotional storm in the stadium, but was at pains to play down his own importance. He was neither an idiot nor a genius, a know-it-all or a dreamer, he ventured, before landing the killer line, "I'm just a normal guy from Black Forest. I'm the normal one." Cue laughter all around. It takes a huge amount of self-awareness, self-assuredness, to proclaim yourself ordinary in front of the world's media ahead of the first day of a big job. But that became his mantra and slogan, which is just funny because he just... those are the moments... It's like when people try to go trending on TikTok or Instagram or whatever reel you're making. The people that are just trying to trend find a big struggle to land one. But it's the people who are authentic and not trying to trend or usually go viral. And I think this speaks to his authenticity of who he is and just being charismatic and in the way that he was born, saying something like that and that being what sticks and trends because he's just...
Right, because he wasn't worried about...
He is just being the normal one, and that's why it became
his normal self.
A slogan. And to be in counter to the special one. But he is aware of the weight, and he wants to keep the weight off the players, but also to get back to winning at the same time.
Yeah.
We can know and love the history, but we can't carry it while we play in terms of it can give you, as long as it's only giving you passion to run. You know what I mean? If it's helping you in the system, sure, be all about it. But if it's weighing you down, we can't carry it like that. We have to win now or it's over. You can't have that kind of pressure when it's affecting you. Some players love that, and it'll just make them better.
I feel like Manchester United is going through some of that.
Sure.
Let's not carry this weight around. Let's just play football.
This was something new that I learned because before Klopp had arrived, goalkeeper Simon Mignolet had taken it upon himself to organize get-togethers and team events. I did not know that that he was the one doing that before Klopp ever got there. But now that Klopp's there, he sought out Mignolet and told him that there would be much more of that in the coming months. So don't worry, you were doing good, my son. We are one team and one family, the manager announced. That ethos expressly stretched to non-playing staff. There's the same Klopp mantra again. This whole building is together, this whole company, this whole organization. Klopp made clear he learned the names of all 80 employees. If you think back to, Wolfgang Frank's first day in Denmark, or where, I forget where Austria maybe. I forget where he went.
Oh, like when he left
Mainz. When he left Mainz, he's like, I gotta know all 22 players when I get there tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, I'm imagining he probably learned everybody else later, but he's just like, I'm trying to memorize these names right now. That's all that's on my mind. And Klopp made sure he learned all 80 employees at Melwood, lined them up in the dining hall, and introduced them to the players, explaining that the squad and the staff had a responsibility to help each other achieve their best. So not only is he bringing everybody together, he is in a way putting pressure on them, but at the same time, I would say taking the weight off, because now we're all going to do this together. So it's not a couple people trying to play with the pressure of Liverpool. It's like, we're all going to do this. And I think if you believe and buy into that, you feel the weight come off your shoulders because you're not carrying it by yourself.
Right. Yeah. I mean, when you share the load, unlike Frodo Baggins.
That's why I left. It's the Lord of the Rings. It's not a funny concept. It's the Lord of the Rings quote.
Like, you want to do that as a coach. Like, you want the players to share what you're trying to do for them, and almost like kind of like showing them, like, here's the reins of the coach. Here's the horse. You're on the coach. Here are the reins. This is what they do.
Yeah.
Here you go. And then just like all coaches for me are guides in the sport, but like, he's just really trying his best to guide these players into what he's laying the ground for. And like it says in that last paragraph, just like, there's a responsibility to help each other achieve their best, and he's helping them understand that so that they'll realize it, and then it'll all just click together. I think that's just such a cool, like, when a coach can just do it, do something like that simply just by like once you get your whole team to understand that, like, you're coaching, it doesn't become, it becomes simpler, not easier, just because, like, you don't have to think about the players questioning what the buy-in is, or like, you don't have to worry about that other stuff, because you already got them in. Everybody's feeling confident about it. Now the coaching just becomes simpler, and you can actually do the work that you've been talking about doing. Yeah.
Klopp's next mission, the fans. In Klopp's mind, a match going public had an important role to play, even though he was reluctant to make any overt demands. At Mainz and Dortmund, he had seen players regularly tap into the stadium's energy, but Anfield, the crucible of football, didn't quite live up to its billing as a cauldron. Supporters left in droves 8 minutes before the end of a 2-1 loss against Crystal Palace in November 2015, Klopp's first defeat as Liverpool coach. I felt pretty alone at the moment, he said afterwards, visibly disappointed with the crowd's premature capitulation. But as the new immigrant member of the LFC community, he had to be careful not to blame them. But he didn't. He did something that we will recognize from previous chapters. He was honest, to the point. We should be responsible that nobody can leave the stadium a minute before the end, because everything can happen, Klopp said. We have to show that, and we didn't. So you get your message across.
We as a club.
Right.
Yeah.
But you get the message across to the fans that you want them there.
Right.
Not making an overt demand, but then also taking responsibility. Jocko Willink would love this book and love Klopp taking extreme ownership of it, that we have to show them we didn't. As the leader, you take responsibility.
Right.
And he does that. And that resonates with people, though. That if you take responsibility, people resonate with it. And that can go for any walk of life, which is what's frustrating about like something like politics, because it's all about people running away from taking accountability. So it's like, you can say you messed up. It's okay. We want that. People respond to it. Okay. And obviously, Klopp is successful, so he's going to win over the fans.
He sure did.
A subsequent meeting with the same opponents, which was Man City, in the final of the League Cup, this is after they beat Man City, was altogether less pleasant for Lallana and the rest of the squad. Liverpool did well to come back for a 1-1 draw at Wembley. Remember this is when I thought our first silverware was coming. I watched this game. Against a City team boasting more individual quality, but lost the penalty shootout after extra time had come and gone without further goals.
Wow.
We feel down, but now we have to stand up. Only silly idiots stay on the floor and wait for the next defeat, Klopp said. His frustration about losing out on his first piece of English silverware was tempered by the knowledge that Liverpool had fought valiantly with the little left they had in the tank. They gave everything, so he was somewhat satisfied. He knew that they were building. The same thing happened at Dortmund, where crazy games would happen and they fought back, but didn't come quite, it didn't come out because they came back against Udinese and it wasn't quite a success, but they're like, hey, wow, but we came back after getting thrashed, and then we went to their house and thrashed them. Even though we didn't win, we can see the improvement taking place. We were fighting for silverware, which was the whole goal, and the fact that it happened a little early is a good sign.
Yeah, it was a lot of up and downs. In the next paragraph, it says the league campaign failed to take off, however, with all of that. Big wins were followed by draws and defeats against the lesser lights.
I remember always
and
playing. It seemed like we played down to opponents, it felt like.
Yeah.
I made a little note that Klopp believed through all of our disbelief. And I say our as I can't speak for all Liverpool fans, but I can speak for myself that after that final loss, it's like, it's going to be more of the same.
Yeah.
I didn't believe, man. I was a bad Liverpool fan at the beginning. I'll admit it.
But yeah, even if you were, it's just like the Klopp was able to make doubters into believers.
And this was a moment that I didn't understand at the time. Klopp before is being praised by other people that we would love them to be coach, and he's doing all the things right, but he's got to deliver on, he's got to get the results. It's a results-based business kind of thing. So, but the next stage is literally a draw. Yeah. But this is more important than I ever thought it would have been, because I didn't know what he was doing at the time. And I remember him being criticized for this. In mid-December, Belgian striker Divock Origi scored a dramatic, very late equalizer to rescue a point for Liverpool at home to West Brom, 2-2. Klopp took the players in front of the Kop after the final whistle to show his and the team's appreciation for the unwavering support to the very end, which is all that he had wanted in the beginning. It was the best atmosphere since I came here, he said. Of course people are disappointed, but they didn't let us feel that. They saw that the lads tried everything and played football. The gesture was, predictably, belittled in some quarters of an overblown celebration of a mediocre result against a mediocre opponent. But Klopp didn't care. In the view from the outside, the players' tribute was a piece of clever crowd management meant to remind Anfield of its extraordinary power to influence a result. He's awaking like a sleeping giant, pretty much. But I don't feel that he's doing it in a way that's like selfish. Obviously, he wants to win, but he's like, this is the only way I know how to do it. And if we're gonna win, we need all of us. And he's got the crowd behind him, which is so pivotal in the rest of this chapter and the rest of Liverpool, his time at Liverpool. But in the moment, I didn't understand the connection that he was trying to. I was so ignorant to so many things watching this, and I remember the pundits going, and they were saying that they're like, "This is dumb that they're celebrating mediocrity," and I was like, I mean, I kind of see that. It's like we want to do better than 2-2 at West Brom. We want to win the league title. We want to celebrate that.
In a result standpoint, it might have been mediocrity, but like Klopp needed people to understand that his team was giving everything that they had and that it was only going to get better. Right.
He's doing what he knows how to do. He's seeing the bigger picture when others may not be. The team is behind him. Now the staff is behind him, and now he's got the crowd. All the pieces are coming together. And during this Europa League campaign that they found themselves in, they have the first result to, if there's any remaining Liverpool fans not bought in, they beat United comfortably 2-0, and then in the next leg, a 1-1 draw at Old Trafford, which leads them, though, to their next opponent, where all of this is building up to. And Klopp knew the next opponent quite well, Borussia Dortmund.
What a game this was.
This is where Klopp starts winning me over. I'm just like, oh, man. Okay. If you have anything from then to page 112, I'm going to read a lot from then on out. So if you have anything before we just dive into the story of how it all plays out.
I have a bit. On page 112 at the bottom.
Okay.
Klopp could not hide that the return to Westphalia, where Borussia Dortmund is, had touched him too. He said, "I lied if I told you all that stuff going on didn't somehow knock me sideways," he said after the 1-1 draw. The ice-cool facade had put on the day before. He now confessed he had been just that. "I prefer being here than in North Korea," he had joked on the eve of the game. "But I don't think there will be a big emotional effect on me. We will change, get out there and play. That's it." And for Dortmund, it certainly wasn't that way, because Klopp had just been so successful with them before Liverpool. So their current coach, Thomas Tuchel, who a lot of soccer fans will know, he coached Borussia Dortmund as an assistant coach for Klopp, I'm pretty sure, for a while. Maybe not the whole time, but he kind of took over when he left. And he'd been doing well. And then this game came along, and these two games came along. The first game was like they tied, I think, and then the second game was just kind of a big thriller. Like, it was a really good game.
All right, I'm gonna get into it.
Yeah, read it.
For Dortmund, it certainly wasn't, as you said. Unable to play to the incredibly high standards of their season thus far, because if you were going into this game, I was like, Dortmund are good, and we're not as good. The Thomas Tuchel's coach side only truly got going well into the second half. Due to the away goals rule, which is gone now, the advantage lay with Liverpool. Anfield will burn, Klopp threatened, which sounds bad, but I know he means burn with passion. It sounds like you're going to burn down your house. His competitive streak trumped all emotional connections to former comrades in arms. temporarily at least. I bumped into him outside the changing rooms. They're very close together at Anfield and wished him a good game, says BVB team manager Fritz Lundstrom. There you go. He went, "Listen, you arse, I don't want to see a good game. I want to win." Let his little Britishness come out there. At first, it was Dortmund that laid fire to Liverpool's home. The Bundesliga side's mazy, cutting runs in the final third completely overwhelmed the flat-footed defense of the Merseysiders to give the Black and Yellows a 2-0 lead within 9 minutes. And the back line in those days was leaky. That's not from the book. That's my experience. It was, when it came to the back line and the goalie, you didn't have confidence all the time. You were scared, and especially when a team's dominating in your final third, you're like, please, we need the ball. We know how to attack. We can attack. We need to have the ball. So it's 2-0 lead within 9 minutes. The Premier League team needed 3 goals to advance against vastly superior opposition. The game was over. Klopp thought otherwise. I'm pretty sure I felt it was over. It's like, oh my gosh. In the dressing room at halftime, he showed his team clips of 3 Liverpool attacking moves that had nearly paid off, assuring them that more chances were bound to come. He also reminded the players of their club's capacity to triumph in the most unlikely circumstances, mentioning the comeback of all comebacks. This is like what really turned me into a Liverpool fan, as I was like an early one and looked up some of the history. This is like what I'm listening to. Like, I know it's dumb if you're probably from England, but like I'm listening to like the 8-minute compilation of this comeback while I'm playing FIFA, and I just have it on repeat in my ears because I didn't get to live through it. But so I lived through it through memory.
It's listening to belief.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what getting me. Like, I had my own 3-0 comebacks. I know it's just FIFA, it's whatever, but like it fueled me not to quit when I'm down. And I didn't rage quit ever. I'm like, I can come back. Liverpool's Champions League win over AC Milan in Istanbul in 2005. After going 3-0 down in the first 45 minutes, he told us we should create something that we could tell our grandkids about someday, says Origi. The Belgian striker's goal shortly after the restart did bring some hope, and I remember feeling that hope. But Dortmund struck back to win the tie a second time when Marco Reus completed another fine, as Nick fist bumps because he's wearing a Marco Reus jersey at the moment. Combination on 57 minutes, and pretty much you're like, oh, you if the comeback's on, if you concede in the midst of the momentum, it's typically over. Typically, it's over at that point, especially with the away goals. Now they're scoring away goals, so they're counting for more against us. Liverpool's heads dropped. Anfield was ready to accept the inevitable. One man, dressed in all white, was not. Klopp said he could smell, hear, and sense the sensation. He egged on the crowd to scream until the hopelessness was drowned out by defiance. It felt as if he had brought himself on as the 12th factor, as the instigator and motivator for the players and the fans, wrote De Welt?
Die Welt, yeah, so the world, yeah.
He cooked up a storm on the touchline. He's good like that, says Watzke. Using the power of the crowd against us was legitimate. It was his job in retrospect, just as it had been my job in the first leg. But it was nevertheless strange for us. I have rarely seen something like it at that level of severity. Norbert Dickel, too, felt somewhat hurt that Klopp turned the stadium against them. I didn't like the fact that he whipped up the fans like that, says the former BVB striker. It was professional from his point of view. It was the right thing in his eyes, but not in ours. He could have done without doing that. I know he'll never admit it. I'm sure as hell would never admit it.
Yeah.
But I'm not upset with him anymore. Philippe Coutinho scored to make it 2-3 on 66 minutes. Liverpool had clawed their way back to a 2-goal deficit. Because if you are unaware, the old away goal rule counts as a tiebreaker. So even if Liverpool made it 3-3, it would not go to extra time. Mm-hmm. They had to win 4-3. The Germans continue to play really impressively, technically far ahead of their hosts. But this was one of those nights where the noise at Anfield became a weapon and opposition hearts wilt in the floodlight. A mythical force grabbed hold of the contest and pulled it into the realm of fantasy or nightmares, depending on your viewpoint. We started shitting ourselves, Mats Hummels said later. Dortmund were so shaken that different parts of the teams were playing different systems. As soon as Mamadou Sakho headed in the Reds' third goal, one of the infamous center backs, partnered with Dejan Lovren, our infamous center backs who we love to hate and hate to love. If you're a Liverpool fan, then live through their defending shenanigans. Didn't like them at all. I love them. You're just scared when they play.
Infamous.
That's why, yeah, infamous. As soon as Sakho headed the Reds' third goal, 12 minutes from time, Watts knew it was all over. I resigned myself to losing at that point, he said. We knew how much power Jürgen could generate on the touchline. It's no coincidence we scored many goals in the 89th minute against Malaga. And he had been the only guy in the stadium believing we could still do it, and we did it. At 3-3, it was only a question of time before we would concede again. And then the whole stadium. He doesn't finish the sentence, overcome by horror and admiration. Karl-Heinz Riedel and Nuri Sahin, the new coach of Dortmund.
Right.
I only learned that recently.
Yeah, I found out last week.
He had played it. He was a Liverpool player as well as a Dortmund player. Had played at Anfield. But they told me they had never seen anything like that because Nuri Sahin was a part of the dark days. He didn't get to play in the glorious times at Liverpool. That's Jürgen's doing. Dejan Lovren made the madness a reality 2 minutes into injury time. Klopp could not believe the ball had actually crossed the line at first. Anfield was shouting his name at the final whistle over and over again. The German manager departed the arena like a gladiator exiting the Colosseum following the slaying of a formidable beast, wrote The Independent. His vanquished opponent, Tuchel, found it impossible to come to terms with the result. I can't explain it because there are no logical explanations. Emotions won the day, he said, staring into the middle distance in utter desolation. Unlike the experienced miracle worker Klopp, he hadn't been able to anticipate the approaching insanity. Such an irrational turn of events was beyond the realms of his imagination. He had no means to intervene effectively. It was one of the worst defeats during my 12 years at Dortmund, says Watzke. Not because of Jürgen. I was even pleased for him at the end. No, we were so close to winning an international trophy. I think we would have won it. We got knocked out in Liverpool, but actually, we had already lost the tie in Dortmund, I feel. It took a month before his relationship with the former Borussia coach recovered. He adds, I don't think I'll ever experience something similar, but our friendship is strong enough to endure. Now, I've been a reserved person in my past from disposition and also like self-doubt and insecurity. But in my years of working at the pizza shop, I would watch many a Liverpool game, and I remember Gabby watching me see Liverpool score. Mm-hmm. And she was like, I've never seen you more excited about anything in your life.
The robot's excited.
Yeah. The emotions emerged in me. But it's like, Liverpool's magic is back. Oh my gosh, what a moment. And you can even look up the stadium singing You'll Never Walk Alone afterwards. And before.
It's chilling.
And before.
Yeah.
Because before the Dortmund fans are singing it, the whole stadium was singing it, and you have two of arguably the more passionate from Dortmund, they carried on like being crazy at like bringing the atmosphere.
Yeah.
So they're singing. The Liverpool fans have been reignited, and they're singing, and it is chilling to listen to. But yeah, I can.
That's a game I want to go back and watch too.
I can go back and watch that Dejan Lovren goal, and it's
even insane. As a loss, like it's so cool to watch. That belief kind of changed things that much.
Yeah, dude, I was getting chills just like reading it, reliving it, even though it wasn't on the screen, just in a book.
Right. It's funny because like this exact thing happens when Liverpool plays Barcelona in Champions League. Dude. They had one job and they fucking did it.
And I'm a bad Liverpool fan because I was like, it's over.
Even years later.
You want to say Dortmund outplayed Liverpool in this game, dude. Barcelona pooped all over us, dude. It was like, it was bad. The best of Messi, the best of Suarez, man. It was... And then when Messi puts in that free kick that was like inches from Alisson's hands, I'm like, it's not in it for us. And it wasn't even like a mad thing. It was like, it's Messi, it's Barcelona. When he wants it, it's his.
Yeah.
To call it back, I couldn't see it the way that they played in that first leg. I couldn't see it. Oh my gosh, dude.
They had, but it was the only way for them to continue in the tournament to win the final.
Right.
And they fucking did it.
Right.
And like, I'll never, like, I was doing stuff around the apartment when Kyle was watching it in our living room when we were living in the city. And, I'm just, looking at the TV as I go by, as I go by. And the first half was just like, he was just like, I don't think this isn't going well, Nick. And then like the second half kicks off and I'm in the kitchen and I hear Kyle like, we scored.
Yeah.
And then another one. And I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
I have to come back in and watch.
I was at the pizza shop for it.
And then the third goal, I think, was Origi's goal off of Trent's quick corner against Barcelona, which was genius because Barcelona were just taking their time and caught them flat-footed.
Right.
And it goes in, and I'm like, no way.
Dude, I didn't celebrate as hard as this game during that because I'm just watching it going... Like, if we concede, it's over. Like,
yeah,
I didn't allow myself.
It took one to go. It took one. I
had to wait for the whistle to go to like let any emotion out. I was glued. I'm just like, I know we're doing it, but it's just, if I was there live, I would have.
The line was very thin.
I would have been going crazy if I was there in person, but I'm just like, I'm still living with the full. Both games in my mind where like Messi is in form right now. Not that he's not in form a lot of the time, but like
the way he was
really in form, and I'm just like it wouldn't take anything that no mistake of ours. He just does one thing of himself and he could derail all of this. If it wasn't against Messi, I might have celebrated. I might have got into it, but I just had such a respect for like who they were playing. Where it's like it just takes one moment. Suarez is there too, and all of a sudden like it's over.
But who scored the last one? Do you remember?
I think it was Wijnaldum.
Oh yeah,
I'd have to really go through it.
I think you're right,
but it might have been Wijnaldum's header.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, what a game. But, this is a semifinal. They didn't win any silverware. But Liverpool's owners had seen enough. That April, they approached him and his staff with an offer to extend their contracts to 2022. And remember, this is 2015. I like that.
And the year is now 2024.
I know. It's sad. It's sad. This is making me sad. Reading this was like, Klopp's going to... 1-2 years max. He can't stay away. There's no way, dude. Like he's a guy who's gonna be like Joe Paterno, not to bring up like Penn State because of all the scandals, but like you coach until you die. Like that's who Klopp strikes me as.
Yeah,
but
we're gonna find out.
I understand that he's tired. So like, well, what's he gonna do when he feels rested? He's coming back.
Yeah,
I don't know where, but like.
It's hard to say, honestly.
I think that
there
ilk
hasn't
of
even
guy,
been enough time yet.
when he sits, he can't do it, which is why all these players just come out of retirement when they think they're done. Because they're just like, I can't sit here. But I get it. Like, go recover, dude. But he's going to be back in some capacity, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so, too. I just don't know where.
But yeah, it doesn't end nicely, sadly. Unai Emery's team, they're playing Sevilla, the masters of the Europa League. Unai Emery, great coach. Unai Emery's team were unimpressed by Daniel Sturridge's wonderful angled opening goal 35 minutes in, and staged a powerful comeback after the break, scoring 3 times to claim the trophy for a third consecutive time. Reflecting on the defeat, Krawitz puts Liverpool's second half collapse down to a mixture of physical exhaustion and getting it in the neck mentally by conceding Kevin Gamero's equalizer 1 minute after the restart. The stability was missing. The first half was all right without being all that good. In retrospect, I feel that the spell after the break was Seville's last chance. They went for it in a clever way. And skipping a little bit further down, I know from my own experience how difficult it is to win. This is Jamie Carragher, to win a European trophy. Says former Liverpool defender Jamie Carragher. That's why losing the final was a big disappointment. But you think of a journey and the legendary nights along the way: Manchester, Villarreal, Borussia Dortmund, the big one. Happy memories can never quite fill up the empty space in the trophy cabinet, but if you're lucky, they'll stay with you forever, just like the silverware would have done. But it did. I didn't have to read this book to picture it in my mind, though it did make it more vivid. That's a memory that is in my mind, and it stays with me as if it was a piece of silverware, which is because of Klopp, because of what he built, and he brings out the magic, and just saying, is if we just do all this, maybe something will happen here. The magic of football.
Yeah.
The beautiful game. These are the moments that he is brilliant at bringing about in the way that I described that one game I played against you at LCBC.
Right.
There's something that you can tap into where you're almost controlling fate. You're almost tugging at the strings a little bit.
You're
you're going to manifest a result when you need it most in a beautiful way. When you're down, it doesn't always happen, but he creates an atmosphere and a culture that allows you to tap into it maybe just a little bit more.
Yeah. I feel like I feel like the tapping in is like noticeable, almost like in the way that like where like humans, like us as humans, are like tuning sticks or like a tuning fork, and we're just feeling the vibrations of the environment or what's happening around us,
right.
Which is like what I imagine you like feeling when you played against us and like won, where you guys didn't win anything, but like, and we weren't playing our best either, but like you noticed a shift.
Yeah.
And I just always imagine you like this tuning fork just going off on the field, just like responding to the energy.
It's talking about Klopp just like being defiant against the world, where in my mind I'm just like, we are not losing, and it was decided. Like I decided, and I wish I could do that in life at all times. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. But there's just something about it where like, if you can really harness a stubbornness in you in a positive way, like that's the kind of defiance against the world that can really bring about beautiful things, where you're just confidently with zero doubt going, no, this is not what's going to happen. This is not how it's going to end. A lot of the time in those moments, it becomes reality, and it's a really crazy thing that happens in the world. It happens a lot in sports, but it happens in life in terms of people accomplishing things against the odds and building companies, or even in the ugliest of human pastimes of war, there's incredibly brave and beautiful stories you can read about in war where we are going to win. We are going to live. We are going to come together and get this done.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's that belief. It's almost like that belief in others that just needs like that vibration just turned up. I mean, wait, wasn't that what the chapter was called? Pump up the volume.
Pump up the volume.
It's like noise is vibration.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine like being Dortmund in Anfield in that game, man. The amount of energy coming from that many people against me and my team, like that would be hard to deal with. Because then all of a sudden your body is reacting to the vibrations of thousands of people. And like, what do you do? Just like it's hard to like push against that. It's hard to be defiant against that, right. Especially when it's so big and loud. And there's all this. You as a tuning fork, you're about to just like fly into space.
I also felt what that guy who worked for Dortmund had said, where he's just like, they hadn't lost yet, and he's just like, it's only a matter of time.
Oh, because it was 3-3?
Yeah. It's only a matter of time before we concede.
He felt the energy tipping.
I felt that in just even a neutral standing point games where you feel like a shift and you're just like, we're about to concede or they're about to concede, and it happens. Not saying like I have like premonition, but you can
called it weeks ago when we were watching Swiss play
right.
Netherlands.
You can just see like they're about to get unlocked, and then Swiss scores a goal against England. Like sometimes you get a feeling and it ends up being right. I'm not saying it happens all the time, but sometimes you can just pick up that frequency that you're talking about where it's like it's about to happen, man. Or like or a shift of momentum, like unless something changes, they're gonna lose now. Like it's not happening. You can also kind of feel when it's not happening.
I mean, you also don't see coaches like use the 12th man as much anymore. And Klopp did such a consistent job of that, and like being able to like get the crowd going to bring that 12th man on is just such a it's like, it's tipping the scale, and people start to become aware of that tipping point of how the game is gonna go. But I don't know, I mean, I'm not there at the games, but like I don't know, it's cool to look back on just because we all watched all these games and experienced something really cool.
I still remember not being a good Liverpool fan and just complaining at the shop and just being like, I just want to see them win the silverware, man. We lost 2 finals this year. Like, instead of being positive, like, we've made 2 finals.
Yeah.
And not really knowing how that Dortmund moment happened. Like, I didn't know what Klopp was doing and that he's done it before, and I didn't know the history in that way. And it's cool to even know it now, because even later on, like, I became more of like, I'm just gonna believe it. Like, Klopp eventually turned me into somebody who believes until the end, even when it didn't happen. But this was a different way of like seeing it, and just seeing it from behind the scenes of like everything that I lived through, what he was actually doing, and makes me miss him even more than I already miss him now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he'll, I don't know.
Season's about to start, man. And
he left such a big, like...
I feel bad.
Trail, though, man. It's so cool to have that trail, especially as a Liverpool fan.
Can I believe in the team without him? Like, is it going to be there? Is it going to be there? Is the magic going to be there? Are players going to stick around? I don't know. But I think...
Welcome to my Chelsea world.
But I think at least the Liverpool fans who live there and support will be like Dortmund. They will carry on the energy,
carrying the torch.
Maybe the coaches don't become consistent until they find the guy again. Maybe they struck gold again. You never know. I don't know. I don't want to like speak ill, but I think there'll be that though. What he left and built will always stay.
Yeah.
And whatever system is being played may alter and change, but the fans are going to be bought in for a lot longer than for long enough to find who they want, so where they can start making finals again. You know, whether they win it or not, we will see. But the fans will be ready to stick through the end and not require somebody to come and wake them up again. I think that will stay with Liverpool. They won't need to be woken up again for a long time. They won't fall asleep.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say, because even now Dortmund's like struggled to find. Well, maybe that's the problem initially. Is like we're always looking for that next Jürgen Klopp. Like we want it to be the same again, but that's always being so.
Right. Well, that's why I'm
nostalgic.
focused on the fans won't fall asleep.
Right.
And I'll be grateful for that.
Right. Yeah. I get that. I mean, it's always cool seeing the yellow wall at Signal Iduna Park show up for Dortmund when they play, just because like that is always like that's always such a treat, just like even through a screen. I mean, I was there. I caught Borussia Dortmund a few games when I was over in Germany, and just like I'm not being in the wall, but like just witnessing the energy itself was just like that's cool. Like it's got to be like they're standing the whole game, they're having a good time. They're there to make sure the support is there, the energy is there, that they're showing their players that there is belief in them, and that's just so important to have. And just maybe like why Dortmund have been, well, the past few years they had a really good run, just with their coach, Edin Terzic, said that he had to go, but I'm trying to be optimistic. He was a homebred guy. He did a really good job. But yeah, I mean, I feel like this is also a book that I'm gonna be rereading a few times in my life, just to kind of like revisit the magic.
Let's end with watching it.
What?
Just a little 7-minute video here. Just let's relive it.
Liverpool against Dortmund?
Yeah, let's relive it.
Oh, shit.
European football at Anfield. It is Liverpool versus Borussia Dortmund. 7 days ago, Dortmund rolled out the red carpet to welcome Jürgen Klopp back to his former home. Now he welcomes Dortmund to
James
his new
Milner. What a signing.
What a tank.
Will see off his former team tonight.
Wow. The whole stadium.
Played behind him by Coutinho and Marino's playing catch up.
Some
There's a
space.
real break developing here for Dortmund. It's Kagawa.
Oh.
Castro. Wonderful save, Mkhitaryan.
Wow.
Dortmund score early.
Oh, Mkhitaryan, dude, for Dortmund, something else.
He was special. That went with his time there, man.
I was happy to see him have success at Inter in a different kind of central midfield role, but like pivotal in the titles.
Bink. Bink. 9th minute.
9 minutes in. There's our center backs.
Oh my god.
Aubameyang was something else too for Dortmund.
Still funny to me that Tuchel at Chelsea like brought him and like all these other players in to do well, and then he just gets fired. What a freaking bummer, dude. I'm still a little bummed about that. Halftime is 2-0, just like we covered. When all seemed hopeless. 48th minute. Oh, pass right through the back center backs. Oh, touches it in. Origi, wow. So simple. Such a simple finish, man. Bing. He's so calm.
That's when Origi's at his best when you need it most.
Yeah.
Regular league game with nothing on the line, don't even put him in, man. Oh, I remember that finish, dude. Oh my gosh.
Still slicing you.
It killed any hope I had.
Keeper
So
even
good.
had a touch on it, I think. Crossing into the right. Oh, maybe he didn't. Just had a nice dip. 66th minute. Liverpool goal. Simple layoff in the middle.
Coutinho was the man.
Bottom right.
Should never have left. Obviously,
No,
in
he probably
hindsight,
shouldn't
but like I was like, don't leave. And for me, I was like, don't leave when he left. He wanted to get out of the shadow of the front three that was born. I gotta get it, but he could have played in behind him. But that's when Firmino, Salah, and Mane were
Turning
starting
on.
to tear it up. And
Yeah.
belief restored, but you're still just like, how? Where's it coming
77th
from?
minute. Oh, just. Does he just like just small touch
Yeah.
header in from across
Yep.
or a corner?
Didn't he have to jump?
Yep. Didn't even have to jump. Just bounced right up into his head. Bink. Easy. Wow.
He smells it.
Klopp's reactions are so good. The 91st minute. Oh my
I
god.
remember this, dude. It's Milner. It's Milner. It's Milner.
Cross in. Another header. Unbelievable. That crowd has just entered Nirvana.
It's kind of making me want to cry. Just because Klopp's gone, man.
Yeah, he's left this behind, man. It's so cool.
Yeah. This video is just having all these reactions from pubs and houses and in the stands.
So many happy people. Shining happy people.
And like we said, no silverware is won from this. But I guess you could argue that many silverware was won because of this. This is just one of the stepping stone moments of
This was
belief.
pivotal, I think, yeah.
Just belief into the squad.
Incredible comeback. Very special. I think 3-0 down in the halftime, and the coach said that we had to create a moment where we could tell our grandchildren.
There it is. Here's the quote.
Did not feel like they just scored the winner. It's amazing feeling. It was I think one of the best games I think in the last 2 or 3 years. You know, it was. We never stopped believing in ourselves. We said it at halftime. We had nothing to lose. We need just to believe. So with a great effort from everyone, we deserve to win. What's a goal from you as well, both of you? Every time it looked like they're taking the game away from you.
The most criticized center backs came up with the goods.
Yeah, right?
With heart and the support and the fans never leave them and always out. And I think together it's a win. Forever. And now it's that they were dead and buried against Borussia Dortmund has turned into a night where Liverpool have turned the game on its head. They have reached the semi-finals of the Europa League. This football club just doesn't know when it's beaten. Liverpool do it once again. Semi-finalists once again. It is simple.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I think I called this a semi-final. It's a quarterfinal.
That's still a big
They
game.
beat Villarreal to get to the final.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Good video. I think it could have done a better job at showing the 12th man.
Sure. I just picked one that had 2 million views.
Oh, yeah, there's probably one on
Then
there.
there was longer ones. It was the shorter one. But I'll put a link to that video in the comments or in the description. But I think that's all we got time for today. So
Yeah. That was a good chapter. I mean, especially for you as a Liverpool fan.
yeah, man, I'm a little emotional now.
It's good, man.
I felt the
It's
tear.
good emotion.
I almost shed a tear. It was pretty surreal to watch that, and not something that I haven't watched. Like, there's a video that goes over like the past decade of moments, and it always pops up with Lovren's goal. And,
Yeah.
and I just get, it's a moment. It's a moment that I'll always have, and it'll always register. Just an incredible kind of emotion and belief in the impossible. And
Yeah.
there's many of those moments in football that I have, but
Well, I mean,
that's
like,
one of them.
it relates so well because, like, that's, like, it, especially from, like you mentioned earlier, like the Gerrard, Liverpool versus AC Milan game.
Yeah.
Like, just how at odds they were with
right.
those circumstances and
the
still
more
came
I
back
learned
and won.
And the more I learn about football, the more I learn how crazy that was, because I now know all like the names of the players that were on Milan. You're like, holy crap, they had no business beating them.
Right.
That squad was stacked, and it was Ancelotti coaching it, like the
Wow.
stone cold killer of Champions League finals.
Yeah, I guess he got a taste of his
That
own
made
medicine.
him now have a vendetta against Liverpool till the end of time. He's like, I will never lose to them again.
No, it was a pivotal moment for them. This game against Borussia Dortmund, man, that was when, like, just you felt how powerful they were getting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just not in like a evil way, just they were entering their
There were some core players
form.
there, but it was also like this was more the ragtag of misfits team that Klopp took over. Yeah, with the back line and the goalie, because they all get replaced. They all get replaced. Like, Milner becomes a stalwart, but like he was surplus to requirements kind of guy thrown on there. Like, Lallana was probably a bigger name signing that we had. Coutinho is this proven guy. Sturridge doesn't have his strike partner anymore. He starts not being as favored of a striker anymore, and just getting the results against teams that he doesn't have any business doing. But yeah, so Klopp, you'll never walk alone.
No, he will not.
All right, goodbye.
Bye.
Oh, I guess thank you for listening, because apparently there's a average of 15 people listening, and I don't know how long you make it through, but if you've listened through all the way, just want to thank you for support,
taking the time
to listen. If you are going all the way through, please leave a comment and tell us what you think about
maybe even
just
a
soccer,
like.
man. Maybe even a like, maybe even a subscribe, maybe even to the point of turning me into a person who says that at the end of the video. I don't know.
Do it.
But it's cool to see that. I don't know if everybody who's watching it knows me personally, or if you're a random person out there who has no idea who I am, but it's really cool. So thank you. And goodbye.
Bye.